And my very special guest, all the way from Chicago, Illinois, is author, activist, leader, inspiration, Victoria Noe. I'm so happy to see you.
To be here.
I'm so glad you're back. Welcome back. This is your second time in the town.
It is.
How does it feel to be back here?
I feel honored.
Oh.
I was jealous when I saw that Krishna Stone was back for a second time. I thought,
yeah.
Well, I need to be back.
Not that there's a competition or anything.
No, not at all.
Well, that is cool. I'm really glad you reached out. And I can't wait to talk about your new book, Unstoppable. And last time you were here, believe it or not, it was like 3.5 years ago. It was early 2022.
Right.
We're filming this now in October of 2025, and it feels like a lot has happened, right?
It feels like another life.
Another life. Before we talk about that and the new book, I want to ask you, what do you like most about your body?
That's a really tough question right now because I just had to pay out of pocket for new hearing aids because my hearing is not getting better. Most everything that doesn't work with my body is fixable. Not fatal, annoying more than anything. I think the thing I like the best right now, I know last time I said my eyes, I think the thing I like best right now is that it still works. It still works. Not as well as it used to, but it still works.
It still works. When did you start to notice hearing loss, if I may ask?
Truthfully, when my dad was dying 20 years ago. But it took another 4 years for me to actually get the hearing aids. Like most people, I just kept putting it off and making excuses, but it made a world of difference. It's not perfect, but it's much better.
So once you got the hearing aids, that helped?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And you said with your body, it's fixable, not fatal. The issues that are going on.
Yeah, there's nothing, there are no issues that can't be addressed.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
And if that makes sense at all.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense.
And I know I'm very lucky in that respect.
Yeah. Well, look, and would you say you've worked in your life to try to keep the body healthy and strong?
I could do better at that, but,
Sure we all could.
We all could.
Sure we all could.
I said to one of my doctors one time, he said, what do you have the most trouble with? I said, consistency. And he said, so you're human.
There you have it.
I am.
Right. We're human. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And Anthony Fauci has often said that perfect is not the enemy of the good. Or let's not try to do that when we're talking about medications, when we're talking about prevention, when we're talking about vaccines. Perfect is not the enemy of the good. We can do a good job with our lives and not have to be perfect.
And good can be incredibly effective.
Yes. Yes.
Because it's always better than not doing it.
Yes. So speaking of Anthony Fauci and vaccines and medicine, that will take us right into this amazing new book that you've written called Unstoppable.
Oh.
Now, this is not, I thought it was kind of a sequel, but it's different from your last book, which was written almost 10 years ago.
It came out 6.5 years.
6.5 years ago.
It started off to be a sequel.
Uh-huh.
That was my intent, like 2 years ago, was that, it's been 5 years, it's time to update it, And
just for those who don't know or haven't seen the first interview, the first book you wrote, the one we're referring to, is called Hags and
Divas and Moms.
Divas and Moms. And it's really about a legacy of straight women who have contributed to HIV activism. Sort of the women behind the scenes who have contributed to so many gains.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just assumed, we'll update some of the stories and we'll add some new ones and that'll be fine. So then I was interviewing women last fall and the election had not happened yet. But there was, so everybody sort of had their game face on. it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. We're going to move forward. And then the election happened. And I was here in New York beginning of December interviewing women, and everything changed. They were scared. What's going to happen? What do we do now? And I realized it wasn't going to be a sequel. It was going to be something different. It was going to be very much in the moment that we're living in. So then in March, after the inauguration and the whole shock and awe thing, I re-interviewed some of the women. Because I emailed my editor, Jay Blotcher, and I said, listen, the anger in these women is at 11. I can't write a book where the anger is 11 for the whole book, and no one's going to want to read it. It's exhausting. So it took me a few months to find a balance. And I mean, these women they were just in a rage for good reason. They all had slightly different reasons, but all very legitimate. So I've never written a book that was this much in the moment. I was still updating it in July. So it's, there's a disclaimer like, this is accurate as of July.
Yeah.
Because things have been happening so quickly.
Right.
And reversing again, so.
Right. That so much is just in a short period of time.
So it's more, I think it's kind of a snapshot.
Yeah.
Of what we're living through.
Yeah. And it is amazing with the power of publishing that we could be talking about a book in October that was really still being changed based on current traumatic news events in July.
Mm-hmm.
And the anger you mentioned, so many of the women you've interviewed were angry because...
Well, some of them were angry because, like Martina Clark, Martina was really the woman who changed the book for me. Her life's work with UNAIDS, gone. Is she going to lose her medication? She can't. She still hasn't been approved for disability. They pretty much agree she's disabled, but Social Security does not move quickly. Her meds are $4,700 a month. How is she going to afford them if there's no assistance? So she really sort of hit all the high points, losing the work that you have done, like Dr. Fauci. I think about him all the time, about his life's work destroyed. Gleefully, people celebrate destroying his work. And how do you live with that, knowing that everything you've worked for is gone?
Mm-hmm.
So that was, that was part of what Martina was saying. But she was also the one who finally got me past my issue with Jay about anger. It's like, how do I balance this? Yeah. And it was in March when I interviewed her the second time, and I said, where do you find hope? Where do you find joy? Which we agreed are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Joy is more in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Hope is moving forward. And she was able to answer it. So I started asking other women, and that became the balance, I think.
Where did she find the balance? Where is there hope today in this world, in this time?
Yes, I believe there's hope because, the first few months of this year, of this administration, we were deep in the shock part of shock and awe. We were like paralyzed. So much was happening so quickly. Every day there was some new outrage. And you can't respond to everything at once. And I don't think the human brain can handle being that overwhelmed and still be able to formulate a plan.
Mm-hmm.
So So I think it took us a while to figure it out. But I see signs of hope every day. I mean, people are not giving up, you know, no matter what the cost to themselves. Even if they're doing things that, you know, to protest actions that don't directly affect them. You know, I truly believe everybody can do something. You don't have to get arrested at a demonstration to be an activist.
Right. What are the other things from your own experience that can be valuable in terms of contributing to change?
Well, I know that there's, you know, a lot of criticism of people who post stuff on social media, but I don't think we can assume that everybody who sees your posts already knows about what you're posting.
Yeah. Do you get criticized for posting news on social media?
Sometimes, you know, it's
For like by who, or why would they criticize? Why would they have a problem with that?
because it doesn't have anything to do with me.
Say more.
You know, but everything's connected.
Yeah.
Everything's connected. You know, Martina's issues with Social Security are not strictly because she's HIV positive. A lot of people are having issues with Social Security disability, no matter what their health is, you know. So her issues are your issues.
Right. So I know that you post, and I actually think that's helpful because I don't even know where. I put something on Facebook because I don't even know where to get news anymore. I don't know. The traditional news sources that I would turn to are failing the moment, big time.
Yes.
So I look to you, and I look to another friend named Ernest, who kind of keeps me up to date, and some of the oh my God, I forgot her name, but some of the journalists and bloggers who actually are keeping. That's who I was trying to remember. That's how, and Charlotte Clymer, who I love. That's how I'm keeping up with what's actually happening.
Well, and I think too that it's important to. Oh shoot!
It's okay. That's okay. I'm just gonna get. I'm just gonna hold this. We're gonna hold this over here.
I think it's important to expand who we're listening to. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I keep sitting down.
That's okay. Do you want to push against me?
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead.
I don't want to put my foot in the wrong place.
I got you.
There's a woman I've been following on Facebook for years named Jess Piper.
Uh-huh.
And she ran for a state legislative role in Missouri, a rural community. And she lost, but there had not been a Democrat on the ballot in years. Almost half of the legislature in Missouri runs unopposed. Republicans run unopposed. So when people talk about people in red states, I'm like, stop. If they don't have an option on the ballot, what can they do?
Yeah.
You know. So she's been mobilizing people all across the Midwest.
Wow.
To run for office. And they're not going to win the first time. That's okay.
Yeah.
They're there, and there are people who are willing to support them.
Yeah.
To have an option.
Yeah. So posting news of actual events can be a way of also educating and staying active and informed.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm in several groups right now that are tracking.
That's all right.
Good, we weren't electrocuted.
We're not electrocuted.
I'm in several Facebook groups and off that are tracking ICE activity in Chicago, so that we can let people know that ICE is in their neighborhood or on their way.
Right. So that's what I was thinking, that you were in Chicago at a time when ICE presence is prevalent.
Yeah.
And you are documenting that and trying to help people see where they may be in danger.
It's largely unpredictable. There are no sirens or flashing lights. Unmarked SUVs with tinted glass. Although they had the first sighting of a sedan full of ICE agents yesterday. So now we gotta look for sedans. But they're everywhere. They're just showing up randomly all over the suburbs of the city.
And so would you say there's typically a day where they go, they scan the area, they're in an SUV or sedan?
Well, they've been sending drones out.
Drones,
the night before, and that has been an indication of where they're going to be the next day.
Okay.
Not 100%, but
Have you seen them in Chicago?
I have not seen them, but they've been in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. And what is that like for you to be in the middle of this?
It's nerve-wracking. Even though I'm not their target, truthfully, everybody is their target. Because we all have whistles now. And I can show you mine later. You blow the whistle 3 short times to warn people that ICE is on the way. 3 long times, ICE is grabbing somebody. This is a huge campaign in Chicago.
So we're talking about the issues that are coming up around ICE, and I apologize, we had a little technical issue here. I blame ICE. But again, this reminds me so much of the theme of your book, Unstoppable. People who are unstoppable. You can push against me.
Yeah.
Feel free to put your feet anywhere. People who are unstoppable. It's so much the theme of this book. And the women who have made this possible, the women who have fought so hard. And as you said, the women who are now angry with the losses and the rollbacks from this. The stories in the book Unstoppable are amazing, and I think they're necessary for any period of time that we're living in. Of course, some of the names that we mentioned, Martina Clark, Krishna Stone, Jennifer Bledsoe of NMAC, Ray Thornton, Lewis is just phenomenal. These are people who, whether people realize it or not, have made our lives better today.
She was amazing at USCHA.
Yeah.
The opening day at the plenary. Oh my God.
No one holds
an audience like Ray.
Right. So she's invited to this tub, by the way, anytime. One of the names, though, in the book that I was very surprised, and surprised in a good way, but surprised nevertheless, was when I got to the part where you talk about the contributions of Jenna Bush.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my mind, Jenna Bush was a punchline on late night talk shows 20 years ago.
Right.
And I hadn't really...
For good reason.
Right.
Often.
Well, good reason, but also who isn't young and dumb and doing stupid things. But she's really been doing some important work. Can you talk about that?
She was volunteering with a friend of hers who was a photographer after college, and they wound up following this young woman who had AIDS, also had a young baby, and completely changed her whole attitude about the epidemic because it was became personal. It's, for a lot of people, they have to actually interact with someone who's living with HIV in order to get past the rhetoric of it. I got interviewed 35 years ago for a local TV station in Chicago, and why do you think President Bush, isn't more supportive of the AIDS community? And I said, maybe he hasn't had the chance to sit down and talk to someone who's living with AIDS. I got in trouble for saying that with my board chairman.
Really?
Yes, he thought it was very disrespectful of the president. I'm like, fuck no, it wasn't. I could have been, but that wasn't it, But I think for a lot of people, until they can actually talk to somebody, it's just like how many people in this country outside the community knew what PEPFAR was before this year.
Right.
Probably not very many, but they know now. They know now.
Right, because of the loss.
Because of the loss.
And the consequences.
And they know now the success of the program.
Right.
And what
Right. The reason why a lot of people don't know about PEPFAR are so many of the financial programs in the U.S. is because they've been so successful.
And a lot of people don't care if little black babies are dying in Africa. But when they found out that we were preventing these babies from contracting HIV and dying and decided to stop, that's a great lesson for them. It's a shame it had to happen this way, but I think that it was really important that it became such a public discussion.
Yeah.
And certainly for people like Jenna Bush, she didn't have any involvement until that time.
Until she knew someone,
Right.
cared about someone.
Right.
Which is often what brings us into this work or into our advocacy, is when we know someone or have a connection with
Well,
someone
yeah.
who's in
I
pain.
mean, that's how a lot of people got involved in the community, because someone they knew, someone they loved, had AIDS.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's inspiring for me, and reminds me to check my my criticisms or my assumptions, because when I saw that name, I'm like, what the hell is Jenna Bush doing in this book? But you really explain that it's important that we recognize those contributions and we not write people off.
Well, and there are lots of people like that, and I think that it's something an ally like me can do is to introduce those people to the community.
Yeah. How do you define ally?
That's sort of an ongoing debate. Certainly, I'm an ally because I'm not living with HIV. That's the most basic. Sometimes I'm an ally because I'm a straight woman, cisgender woman. It depends on the conversation, really, the setting. But I think that what I used to think was a big black mark against me, which was exactly what I described, has become a good thing. I always felt at a disadvantage because, I could walk away at any time. I had 1 foot in and 1 foot out, because my friends outside the community had no idea why I was doing this, whatever I was doing. And people in the community were suspicious of what I was doing. What are you here for? To help. I wasn't there for sainthood or any, God knows. But I think being an ally carries a lot of responsibility.
Such as?
Well, to be able to explain to the general public what's going on within the community. Not just the HIV community, the LGBT community too. I have a couple friends who had a son or a grandson come out to them. And to their credit, I what did you do? Well, I hugged him and told him I loved him. I said, okay, that's the most important part. What else? I don't know anything about, father was I don't know anything about gay sex. I'm okay, I'm not having this conversation with you, but I can point you to people who can give you that information. Yeah. And I knew I was the only person they were approaching about this, or could approach, because they knew what I was involved in. So that's why I'm very public about it, because that does happen, where people will say, I don't know what to do about this.
Yeah. So you're able to be there. You're there in a holding space, in that role of helping people learn and stay alive.
Well, but I also feel very clearly there are times I need to step back, that it's not about me. This is not about me, in so many ways. So I can't hog the platform. you know.
Now, are there people who would indicate that because you write these books and because you do this with integrity and you have a light about you, but do some people think you're trying to hog the space when you're being you?
Well, I have been excluded from things because I'm not a white gay male. So many times I couldn't count. Even though it was a conversation that I had something valid to offer. I don't take it personally anymore. I just, but it's, I think Krishna said, why are we having the same conversations we had 35 years ago, 40 years ago, about including women? Going into meetings where everybody's white, or going into meetings where there are no women. That's still happening. It's like, why?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think part of the blame is like what Krishna said. We're recycling the same leaders all the time. There's not enough new leadership coming in.
Mm-hmm.
People of color, women, it's, I'm like, a gay man leaves an organization, he goes to another organization, and he's replaced by a gay man. Mm-hmm. And it's like you see this recycling, and when you have that, it's like in Congress, all these old guys running the Senate, and won't let go. So then new people can come in. You get that, everything stops. There's no opportunity and people walk away.
But we're talking about allyship, and in my world, it's both and. When you talk about in Unstoppable, the strength and resilience of women, straight women who have made our lives happier and healthier today, it is not to cancel or silence anybody else.
Well, and it's also the assumption that all straight women are allies, that they're not living with HIV, that they don't have that experience. I think that's misguided.
Well, certainly in your book, you spotlight the voices of straight women who are living with HIV as well.
Right. And, when I would go to the doctor and ask for an HIV test, this is in the 80s, early 90s, and they'd say, why? What have you been doing? I'm like, I'm single, what do you think I've been doing? And they were shocked that I asked for a test. They never asked me if I wanted one.
Wow.
But I got them anyway.
And you're 73 today.
I'm 73.
And you still have never been asked by a doctor.
Still have never been asked.
If you to be tested.
Well, I'm married, so they assume, I wouldn't need one.
Right, but of course we've seen, and this is in your book as well, and we've, people read the stories of a lot of women who seroconverted. That was in the context of being a married woman.
Yes. And I think, the medical community outside the HIV community is still stuck in the past, right, as far as that goes. Right. And I've had younger women say to me that they've never been asked if they want. They've been tested for sexually transmitted infections, but not HIV.
Which is also important. However, that's not complete.
Yeah.
Right? So the ideal, at least for me, the ideal is that sexual health would be every human is offered opportunities for regular STI HIV testing. Now they could say no, they could say not for me or I'd rather not, but that would be offered in a very normalized, accepted way by any medical institution.
Right, it's like, what's the big deal?
Right, who cares? It's not, and also like if you're getting STI testing and you're testing the blood for syphilis, you have an easy way right there to say, okay, well, I'm taking blood. Can I also test for HIV? Are you okay with that? And again, the person might be like, well, there's no way that would be mine. But it's like, well, maybe once a year we'll look at it anyway, just because we do it.
One of the things that came up in the book that did not come up at all in the first book was faith.
Yes.
And, it never came up in any of the interviews in the first book. And this time it came up spontaneously. I didn't ask about it. But, there were 2 women in the book who were thrown out of their faith communities because they were HIV positive. And I think that that's something that, it certainly informed their work.
Yeah.
But, when people talk about, I separate faith and religion completely, but I think that wherever people can find solace is great.
Right.
And they don't need to be criticized in their own faith community
Right.
for doing that.
Right. Again, I think of that hypocrisy is something in my brain is more like about religion. It's more about rules and shoulds and morals versus actually community and science and helping each other thrive.
Right.
But yes, that's also in Unstoppable as well. So again, Unstoppable on sale, and it's going to be down below, is filled with a lot of these stories, a lot of these lessons. There's a term you use that I wanted to ask you about because I think it's really important in terms of this conversation.
Okay.
You describe sort of the trap of women as the, quote, sainted caregiver. Can we talk about like that means and what the limitations are of that?
When I would talk to people about the Fag Hags book, the first reaction would almost always be, oh, they were caregivers. I was like, most of them no. But the assumption was that if there was a woman in the community, she was a nurse, she was a hospice volunteer, she was delivering food, she was, taking care of someone. They didn't make an assumption that she might be running a nonprofit organization or marching in the streets or passing legislation. I found that very irritating, but
yeah, that assumption that was there, that a woman wouldn't have that kind of power in policy.
Right.
And that, I think
and
that's
we know that's not true.
Yeah, it's not true, and it's that those assumptions of misogyny are still very much with us today.
Very much.
Yeah. So hopefully, again, when people read Unstoppable, they're going to get a sense of these women who are making such a difference.
Well, and I think it's I hope that it shows really clearly what these women are going through right now, in terms of their work, in terms of their health,
and the grief.
And
of losing
yes.
so much of this.
Because the anger is part of the grief.
Right. Losing so much of this time, energy, sleep, health that so many people have dedicated the last 30, 40 years and seeing so much of that stripped away.
Yes.
You also mentioned in terms of caregiving that at some point all of us I'm checking my cheat sheet, we either were caregivers, we are caregivers, we will be caregivers, or we will be asking for caregivers.
Yes.
And I thought that was a really important way to see this role for all of us.
Well, like I said, I'm 73. I said, I'm thinking forward about what might I need.
How do you feel about needing or potentially needing more caregiving in the future?
Well, I think it's unavoidable. It doesn't matter if I like it or not. Our daughter's 31. She lives in South Korea. And, she has said to me that she knows at some point she'll have to move home to take care of us. And I want to put that off as long as possible.
How does it feel thinking about that?
Well, it's just, I want to keep going as long as I can, working. And luckily what I do is not physically taxing. So I'll work as long as I can. And, when I need help, I'll get help. Yeah. My ego's not that bad.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Vicki, I want to thank you so much, despite our technical errors.
I broke his camera.
No, I blame the government. But again, unstoppable. And this interview, you've been unstoppable. The idea that we keep persevering, we keep going. And again, for those of us who've been in HIV work, we know what that's like. But as you pointed out, this moment in 2025 is different from what we are accustomed to.
And the main difference to me is, 40 years ago we had nothing.
Yeah.
We had absolutely nothing. We had to fight to get something. Now we've had a lot, and it's been taken away.
We're grieving.
And that's the grieving for what we have lost, that we fought so hard to get.
Yeah. And I think our community is so tough, is so resilient. And I know people get sick of hearing the word resilient. We don't want to have to be so fucking resilient all the time.
I get sick of hearing it.
And yet that's those, 2025, this is where we are. And you being in Chicago are seeing this, the impact of the hate.
Yes.
Up close and very personally. So I want to thank you for doing what you're doing, contributing to helping people in the HIV worldwide global community, but also your own community in Chicago in terms of helping people see or being part of communities that are trying to help people stay safe in the Chicago area.
It's a challenge right now.
Yeah. My last question, which you may have answered, but what, if anything, gives you hope right now?
Oh, that's the question from my book. I think it's really people coming together. Whether it's one of the rallies or marches from 2 weeks ago, whether it's, people blowing whistles in Chicago to warn their neighbors about ICE, whether it's just, keeping in touch with people. It's so easy for people to hide because they're overwhelmed. I think now it's even more critical, maybe even during the early days of COVID, to reach out and keep in touch with people so they know they're not alone. And I see people doing that every day.
Yeah. So it comes back to that basic human connection.
Yes.
Is how we can get through this.
Yeah. It's the only way. We can only do it together.
Yeah. All right. So again, for people, the link to the book is going to be right down below. If people want to follow your work, follow your efforts, the best way for them to do that would be...
on my website, victorianoe.com.
Okay. All right, baby. And thank you for watching this. I think that this is an unprecedented time, but together as allies, as friends, as people who realize that we do have differences, and we also share so much common ground. For those of us who want to see our country,
more
our
than
world,
we realize.
Yeah, in a happier, healthier place than it is right now. That is a very important foundation for connecting with people. So I want to thank you for being part of that. And if you like this interview, share it. Subscribe down below. And you can see there's 200-something videos, including a previous one with Victoria, about ways that we can all think about making our world a happier, healthier place. So thank you for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.